Greetings. Before I tell this story, I would ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stories like this. And now we begin our story.
They say betrayal never comes from your enemies. I used to think that was just a line people threw around when they were bitter, but now I know it's the only truth that ever mattered, because betrayal, real betrayal, comes wrapped in laughter, in shared secrets, in the hands you thought would catch you when you fall. For me, it came in the form of my best friend and the man I was going to marry. Emma and I had been friends since we were 9, the kind of friendship that grows into your bones. We went through everything together: braces, bad haircuts, broken hearts. She was loud where I was quiet, bold where I hesitated. She filled rooms, and I watched her shine. But I never envied her, not really. I loved her like a sister. I trusted her more than anyone. When I met Daniel, she was the first person I called. He was smart, charming, always listening, like every word I said was a thread he wanted to follow. Emma was thrilled. She said, "He looks at you like you're the only person in the room." And I believe that, because he made me feel like I was. The three of us became inseparable. Dinners, game nights, lazy Sundays in our tiny apartment. Emma was always there, and I never minded. Why would I? This was family. When Daniel proposed, she cried harder than I did. She insisted on helping with the wedding. "Let me handle the boring stuff," she said. "You just show up and be beautiful." She chose florists, tastings, even helped him pick my ring. And I, stupidly, blindly, thought it was love, the kind that surrounds you, the kind that holds you up. But love doesn't watch you drown. The first time I felt it, the shift, we were trying on dresses. She convinced me to let her come instead of my mother. "Too many opinions will drive you crazy," she joked. I stood there in lace and silk, turning slowly in the mirror, unsure. She watched me carefully and said, "It's nice, just not very you." I asked, "What do you mean?" She shrugged. "It's a little too soft. I picture you in something bolder, maybe off-shoulder, something that shows off your collarbones." I laughed. "You've clearly thought more about this than I have." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That moment passed, like all moments do when you don't want to face them, but it left a thread in my mind. One I didn't pull, not yet. Then came the whispers, the late-night texts she didn't show me, the way Daniel started changing the subject when I brought her up, the sudden silence when I entered a room. I told myself I was being paranoid. That wedding stress was turning me into one of those brides, that it was nothing. But something in my stomach knew. It always knows, doesn't it? Still, I ignored it, because I loved them, because I needed them, because the idea that they could hurt me together was unthinkable. Until it wasn't. I started noticing the little things first, the way Daniel would mention plans I didn't know about. "Emma and I already picked the color scheme," he said once over breakfast. "You'll love it." I laughed, more confused than amused, and asked when that happened. He just said, "Last week when you were working late, she came by." It didn't seem like a big deal. After all, I trusted them. But then there was the email. I had asked our wedding coordinator to send me the latest guest list. She replied, "Already sent to Emma yesterday. When can I count with Daniel's notes?" I reread that sentence 3 times. His notes? I hadn't even seen the updated list yet. So they were making decisions without me. Quietly, naturally, as if it were normal. I told myself again and again, "They're helping. You're busy. They're just trying to take stress off your shoulders." But help doesn't exclude you. One Friday afternoon, I came home early from work. Their voices were low, coming from the living room. I stopped outside the door, just for a second. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, or maybe I did. Maybe I was desperate for something solid. Emma's voice, "You should try it on again. I think the waist still needs adjusting." Daniel's voice, "You think she'll notice?" Emma laughed. "She barely looks up these days." Silence. Then, You looked good in it. That was all I heard. I didn't go in. I waited until I heard the sound of the front door closing, until Emma's perfume drifted past me in the hallway. Then I stepped inside. Daniel smiled like nothing happened. You're early. So are you, I replied. We made dinner. We didn't talk about it. I didn't ask what they were doing. I didn't mention the dress. Because somewhere inside me, I already knew. 2 days later, I checked Emma's Instagram. She'd posted a story, a short video, maybe 2 seconds, just enough to catch the hem of a dress in the mirror. White, off shoulder. My dress. It was gone 10 minutes later. I told myself it was a mistake, a joke. Maybe she tried it on for fun. Maybe she was just excited. Maybe it wasn't even my dress. Maybe... But then came the text. From our photographer. Hey, just confirming. Do you want to keep the test shoot photos private? The two of you looked very natural together. Great chemistry. I stared at the message. I hadn't done any test shoot. I called him. He said, Didn't Emma tell you? We did a mock-up shoot last weekend at that old estate you booked. Just her and Daniel. You weren't feeling well, I thought. I didn't reply. I just hung up. My fingers trembled as I searched his online portfolio. And there they were, unlisted but not hidden enough. A private client gallery. No names, just thumbnails. Emma, in my dress, holding a bouquet. Daniel, standing beside her, looking at her the way he used to look at me. Smiling. My knees went weak. I felt like I'd swallowed ice. I clicked through image after image. There they were, pretending, rehearsing, laughing, toasting, dancing, my wedding, their performance. They hadn't just betrayed me. They had taken the most sacred thing I'd ever planned and made it theirs. And the worst part? They looked happy. I didn't cry. Not right away. I just sat there, staring at their fake joy, at my stolen memories, like I was watching the life I was supposed to live, performed by someone else, like I was a ghost in my own body. My first instinct was denial. There had to be a reason, a justification. Maybe it was a surprise. Maybe they were planning something special. Maybe... No. There were too many lies now. Too many layers. This wasn't care. It was calculation. I closed the laptop, sat in the dark for a long time, and then, for the first time in weeks, I picked up my phone and texted Emma, "We need to talk. Now." She replied immediately. "Of course. Want to come over?" 3 hearts. A smiley face. I didn't reply. I waited until Daniel came home. He walked in like always. Keys jingling, tie loosened, soft grin on his face. "Hey, babe." I didn't say anything. He walked into the kitchen, paused when he saw me sitting at the table, still in my coat. Something in his face shifted. "You okay?" I held his gaze. "You rehearsed our wedding without me." His smile faded. Completely. He looked at me like I had said something in another language. "What are you talking about?" "I saw the photos," I said. My voice was calm, too calm. Silence. He didn't deny it. He didn't rush to explain. He just stood there, blinking. I could see it. The moment his world cracked. Not because he felt guilty, but because I knew. Because the mask was slipping and he hadn't prepared for this version of me. "She was wearing my dress," I said. "My ring, my flowers." He finally spoke. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" "It was just for planning. She thought it would help visualize the shots." "You kissed her." That stopped him. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I stood. "I don't care what excuse you give me. I don't even care if you slept with her. Because this was worse. This was mine. You stole it." He reached for me. I stepped back. The room felt suffocating. Every object suddenly strange. The counter we chose together, the lamp we argued over, the space where we laughed, slept, built a future. I no longer belonged here. "I want you gone," I said. He flinched. "Tonight." He didn't argue. He didn't beg. He just nodded, like he knew this was always going to happen. When he left, he didn't say goodbye. He just closed the door gently behind him. And I collapsed. Not with screams, not with shattered glass, just silence. A silence so complete, it echoed. I laid on the floor and stared at the ceiling, trying to understand how people who swore they loved you could erase you so completely. How someone you trusted with your heart could dress another woman in your dreams. I wasn't mourning the relationship. I was mourning the version of me who believed she was loved. The next morning, I woke up and everything was too quiet. Not peaceful. Hollow. Like the walls had absorbed the weight of what had happened and now refused to echo anything back. I sat in the kitchen with a mug of cold tea, staring at nothing, feeling both empty and painfully aware. My hands trembled. My chest ached, but I didn't cry. I couldn't. I'd spent too long pretending not to see, not to feel, not to know. Now there was nothing left to hold back. I expected Emma to show up, to call, to defend herself. Instead, she sent a single text. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen." What does that even mean? You didn't mean to fall into my fiancé's arms. You didn't mean to wear my dress and play pretend in my place. You didn't mean to enjoy it. The worst part wasn't that she lied. It was that she looked happy in the photos. She looked like she belonged there, like I'd never existed in the first place. And maybe that was the truth. Maybe they did want each other. Maybe they'd been circling for months. Maybe he only chose me because I was safe, and she only stayed close because she liked the feeling of being almost me. But I wasn't going to break for them. Not now. Not anymore. I started clearing the apartment. Bag by bag, room by room. Every memory, every object that held their fingerprints, gone. The ring went first, the guest list, the carefully folded veil still in its box. I threw out the framed engagement photo, the one where I looked so deeply in love, it almost made me sick. I didn't scream. I didn't burn their things. I just removed them. Quietly. Deliberately. Some people think healing looks like revenge. Shouting, confrontation, public shame. But for me, healing looked like stillness. It looked like space. It looked like me, standing in an empty room, breathing without apology. I blocked them both, not to punish, but to preserve. My peace. My dignity. My future. I didn't want explanations. I didn't want closure. I didn't want to become the girl who haunted their guilt. I wanted to become someone who existed far beyond them. That night, I sat on the floor and lit a single candle. Just one. No ritual, no ceremony. I just needed something warm, something alive, something mine. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like a spectator in my own life. I felt still. And from that stillness, something new began to grow. The date of the wedding came and went like any other Saturday. I didn't hide from it. I didn't leave town. I didn't drown it in wine or tears. I woke up early, made coffee, and sat on my small balcony with the city humming quietly below me. It was supposed to be the day I said I do. Instead, it became the day I said I'm done. I don't know if they went ahead with something. Maybe they ran away, turned my leftovers into their new beginning. Maybe they wear different rings now, smile for different cameras, and tell people some polished version of how they got together. Let them. They don't get to define my story. For weeks after it all ended, people asked what happened. I told them the truth. Gently, without bitterness. He wasn't the person I thought, and she stopped being my friend long before I noticed. Some were shocked, some weren't. One of my cousins said, "I always felt something off with the way she looked at him." I smiled politely. I didn't say what I was really thinking. So did I. I just didn't want it to be true. Healing wasn't linear. Some nights I replayed everything, the photos, the silence, the betrayal that grew in the spaces I thought were safe. But I didn't stay in those memories. Because the truth is, they're not my ending. One evening, months later, I stood in front of a mirror in a small boutique, alone. No audience, no pressure. Just me. I tried on a simple white dress, not because I was getting married, but because I wanted to wear it for myself. It wasn't the one I'd picked for the wedding. It didn't sparkle. It didn't announce anything. But when I looked at myself, I saw someone I recognized again. Not a woman being rehearsed, not a placeholder, not a stand-in, just me. No one can steal that. Not anymore. I walked out of the boutique and into the city, still wearing the dress, no veil, no ring, no plan, just wind in my hair, sun on my face. Freedom doesn't come with vows or music or applause. Sometimes it comes with nothing but the quiet decision to walk away. And in that silence, you finally hear yourself again. That day, I didn't marry him. I married peace.